Hey, what's going on everyone? Vega here for Serpent Tech, and in this video I need to try to replace the fuel pump in this 2005 Acura TL. We were going to replace it with a DW300C fuel pump, 340 liters per hour, and according to my research, this pump should fit. The unfortunate thing is, it doesn't look anything like the pump that I saw online. Maybe they just changed the branding or just the look of it, not entirely sure, but this should be the same one. The sock is the right thing. It got new seals, but first we need to take off those 3 screws and very carefully get a flathead in here and try to pry up very carefully. This wire going through is going to hold us up, so we need to make sure we disconnect that. So let me get these screws undone. Now we should be able to pull up on this, but the sealant is going to stop us, so we got to be very careful. I don't want to bend these little metal tabs will bend very easily, so we just want to be careful, get a flathead underneath here, and try to pry up very carefully. Now with that sealant broken on this side, I can kind of pull back, and then you can see how dirty that is. I'm probably going to blow this out first, or as much as I possibly can. Here on the right we have the fuel line, and then there's the connector that we need to remove. 2 ways to remove this connector, by the way. There's actually a little clip right here that we can pull up on, or some people pry this little cap. This top section is a cap. They pry on this there's a clip right here too. They pry on that clip up to kind of lift that up and out. But some people, I've seen them just literally just go and yank on that sucker. Either way, we need to clean that out, and then the fuel line, we're going to pinch this side very carefully and pull the fuel hose away from us, so towards the car. But if it has been running, just be prepared for some pressure. So we got a rag here, put it on top, push or hold the clip, and then pull off. So I cleaned it up really good. That dust was kind of caked in there, so even if you blew at it, didn't really do much. So I just got a little handheld, like mini vacuum with a bristle brush to kind of shake things loose, and cleaned all the way down the hose. You could see the line. It says here fuel 8x6 480i, if you needed to write that down for whatever reason. But now we just need to get this connector off, and now we can see that little clip on the side here. Again, I see a lot of people just skip this, but that little clip, you have to pry at it with a flathead or a little pick tool going this way, and then kind of lift that cap up. But I've seen a lot of people straight up just hold this clip and literally pry up on it and lift it right out. So I don't know which way I'm going to go, but let me see which way I wind up pulling this thing off. We definitely need to disconnect that electrical without breaking it. Yeah, I basically did it the same way everybody else did. Just that connector has a lot of grit and dust in it, so I'm going to clean that up as well. But basically pushing on that tab, which again was on this side, and then wiggling and pulling up. So let me clean that up and then disconnect the fuel line, so that way we could start tackling the lid, or this part right here, the black ring going around it, that's actually holding the fuel pump assembly down. A couple different ways to tackle that. You can see we got some marks here too, not only on the chassis but on the ring itself. Wondering if that's showing us how tight we need to go, but it's good to see quality check marks when this car was built from the factory. We're going to try to match those as best we can. Took some small bungee cords to just kind of hold that line out of the way. The rag is just soaking up with a little fuel popped off. You do get a little bit of pressure even if you had the car off for an extended period of times. And we don't want to break this little yellow or orange clip, so we just want to push that off of this guy right here and make sure we keep it nice and safe, because we obviously need to reconnect it. Try not to break that. And now again, very carefully, if you don't have the right tool, you can tap on it with a little chisel or a flathead on these little extended ends, plastic ends, and you want to push it. So twisting this way, loosen, twisting this way, tighten, let me go ahead and start working on that. That took a little bit more effort than I was expecting to. You could see my driver, my flathead, started digging into the plastic, so I had to be careful. But yeah, this thing has never been taken out. Fuel pump's never been replaced on this car, so I knew it was going to give me a little bit of a fight. But now the real hard part, in my mind, it could be not the hard part to somebody else, but being very careful not to break this assembly. Otherwise, got to get a replacement. So you can see inside, there's a little rubber ring, right? That's what seals it. And there's also going to be another ring right underneath this top hat. So we got to be very careful to kind of lift this white piece up without breaking anything, ever so gently. So, you know, flathead, whatever you can. If you do not have a replacement fuel assembly with replacement seals, you want to be very careful not to, you know, obviously break the seal on this thing. But it's going to take a little bit of finessing. Some people have different tricks of the trades. I'm just going to take my time and just very carefully work it bit by bit until I can, you know, very carefully. You do not want to just grab this neck and yank on it, but most people do. The only difference is this pump's never been replaced. Some of the other channels that I've seen do it probably already replaced their fuel pump or had to get in there before. So it was already a bit loose in my opinion. But yeah, we just need to figure out how to get an edge in here. Maybe I'll use something from my iFixit kit on the IT side, plastic pry tool, to get in there and help lift that up a little bit off the seal so we can pull this fuel tank assembly out. Excuse me, fuel pump assembly out, not the fuel tank. Fuel pump goes in the fuel tank. Anyways, yeah, be careful and finesse it up. All right, took a little bit of finessing, but with a flat head in certain areas, you kind of using this metal, right? So get it underneath the plastic area, trying to break it, but get underneath the plastic area, use this metal rim to kind of pry up in different areas and just work it back and forth. You could also get it to a point where you're wiggling it. So this point's actually spinning, and it's spring loaded. So that seal, you can see the second seal now. If I push down, you hear the springs, right? So now it wants to come up, and we can bring it up, but I would suggest holding it, especially if you have a full tank, and letting it drain for a little bit. There's also going to be the fuel send arm or mechanism that's going to tell you how much fuel you have. So you're going to want to tilt it towards the front of the car. You can hear it dripping, and just let it drip for a little bit. Okay, you let it sit like that. You just don't want to spill fuel all around your car. And then if you have any extra rags or anything like that, when you pull it out of the trunk, try to have some rags in the way so that way it doesn't drip, or just have a rag underneath of it when you get ready to pull out. So right now we're ready to go and pull this sucker out, so that way we could take out the in-tank fuel pump that is in the fuel assembly. Now you don't have to do what I did and cover the hole after you pull it out, but I did pull it out and ran to the yard, try to drain some of the gas that was over there. And now here we are with the assembly out. Here's your sending unit, and you could tell these two wires right here, yellow and blue, or yellow and black, going up to this connector right there. So we need to unclip that. And then on the outside here, you see these little plastic tabs. You got to use a flathead and kind of pry on those tabs. Another one right back here to kind of lift the center assembly out. But connector first, pry those tabs, lift this assembly out. Try to keep this ring in good condition unless you got a backup or a new one to replace it with. In this case I don't, and we're going to be using some assembly lube to try to put that stuff back in there to slide back in easier. On the back side of that brown connector is your actual connector for the fuel pump. So there's your clip. You're just going to pull it out, move that out of your way, and continue working on the brown clip to try to pry that off as carefully as you can. Both wires kind of tuck into this little ring right here, so just move that out to the side. This black and yellow wire goes through your sending unit, so when you try to separate the assembly, if those two are connected, it might be a problem, especially if the fuel pump is still in that little ring area. So now, very carefully, again, using a flathead, trying to be as gentle as possible. I don't know how old your fuel pump assembly is going to be, and it could be very brittle. So prying those tabs out while trying to lift the center portion of the assembly up and out. Just thinking outside the box, using some old plastic cards for gambling, universal, whatever you can, to kind of hold those little clips out, because every time I had one out, another one will pop in. So now I'm gonna hold this assembly while trying to carefully wiggle up and pull the center section out. Really hoping this fuel pump is compatible with this particular assembly. So card trick work. The moment I pried up, I obviously held the bottom section. We were able to pull it on out, and that sock is just nasty. Oh my god, this thing is super nasty. So being very careful, because I believe the TL has the fuel pressure regulator in it as well. But here's our fuel pump. There's our connector to the fuel pump. So and then you could see the locking mechanism, right? So there's a locking tab on either side of the pump that goes and locks into the plastic housing. So I got to figure out how to get those out, and got to be careful not to hurt the connector. I will give you a roundup here in a second, but let me take a better look. But look how dirty this fuel sock's been on here since the dawn of time. And you can see, I think that just came off the floor. I might have hit the ground. I don't think that was in the fuel tank. That was just sitting on the ground. But yeah, that thing is dirty. So many years. Now, one of the O-rings we need to replace is down there. Let me see if I can get a better shot of it for you. You see that green ring? We need to replace that with one of the O-rings that comes in the box. And that O-ring sat on this guy right here, this end. So make sure you replace that. And on this side, looks like that goes up, and maybe the regulator's in here, and that's not the regulator. I could be completely wrong, but I know this is the fuel pump. This is what we need to change out, and I'm hoping again that the fuel pump I got works. For the connector, I just put my flathead in here. You can see the locking mechanism right there, and then kind of push down and pry it up, and then I was able to unlock the tab. And now if I had two hands, don't ever want to pull, whether you're working on cars or computers, you never really want to pull by the wire, because you could just rip the connector that's inside out. But yeah, just push the flathead down and use that little ledge or edge to kind of give you a little leverage to pull the connector a little bit out or unlock it. And now we can work it with two hands. All right, really weird. An ambulance just showed up across the street. G-ville Fire Department representing Duval. Anyways, we got the pump out. Let me show you what I did here. So the locking tabs are, one's right here and one's right there. You can't see it, but right there. Don't use a big flathead, use a small flathead. And what I noticed is I unlocked one side, so let's say we unlocked this side, and then I pushed the pump this way, right? And that kept that tab from locking back in. Then I took the smaller, I went to the other side with the small flathead, and what I did is I kind of pried, but then I kind of turned it a little bit, right? Because we don't want the flat edge, this edge right here, because that will actually get stuck on the actual clip. Now you can't pull out. Hashtag. So again, using a plastic clip or pushing against a plastic clip, twisting like this, just enough so that way I could lower it, and then this actual clip will stop it from locking, and basically pulling on the sock area to pull that pump out. So let's compare the two real quick. We are going to need this little white guy right here, and looks like the O-ring is stuck inside. That's not good. We need to replace that O-ring. There should be another O-ring. Yep. Got to go fish that guy out and replace it with what we got. Oh, more fuel coming out. And let's let that dry, keep everything clean, and make sure we clean the bottom of our fuel pump assembly. We need to clean that out properly, make sure there's no debris or particulate in there, fish out that other O-ring. Alright, so the green O-ring was at the bottom of the assembly. This black one was at the top here of the old fuel pump, and it looks like we should be good. Same size, same stock design, already have assembly lube, and they provided the little clip that we need to keep, right? Because as you can see here, that little white clip sits there because the O-ring, we do not want it to go all the way down to the bottom here. We want it to sit at the top. So that little white clip's going to go on the top section here, O-ring on top of that, pop back into the fuel pump assembly, the center section, O-ring back into the bottom of the main assembly, and then we need to use this lube to lube up all the O-rings, including the main one here, before it seats back into the actual fuel tank. So gonna lube up a little bit right here, put the O-ring on here, and then put it on the center section, not just put it in there. But the good news is this DW300C, which is actually the 309, I'll link it down in the description, does fit my 05 Acura TL. So this should be good for 04 to 08 base or Type S, and with the increased flow, it should help out if I increase the injectors as well. So let's continue assembling everything. Real quick, I took off the plastic protection around this fuel pump. I mean, while it looks beautiful, I don't want it sitting in my gasoline and degrading down or whatever. It just feels like a plastic wrapper. So again, this is the 309 version of the DW300C. I'm guessing the lot number is how they track for warranty or anything like that, but took off the bottom cap. There was a little plastic cap, so that way we could put the sock on. However, let me know in the comments if your fuel pump has a label on it. Did you install it with that little plastic label on it, or did you remove it to where it's just a bare canister, so that way that doesn't degrade inside your fuel pump assembly or tank? Now the sock only installs one way. You can see the pin out for where it slides onto, and then we got a little star here that's going to be hard to put on there. I'm not sure, maybe I'll get some needle nose, but we got to place it onto that guy right there and make it clip and lock in, kind of like the old one. Some people use their old one to lock in the new, but we're going to try the new one and make sure that it stays secure using some needle nose. Alright, time for reassembly. Again, this pump does have the locking mechanism, just like the old one, and it only goes in one way. You see that area right there? That's where you know, the yellow that you see here in the O-ring is going to slide into, and then these little locks are going to lock into the same areas that we had to unlock earlier. So you're just going to, you know, very carefully put it in there and push up into the assembly, and then we need to rerun our wire and make sure everything is connected. I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, very carefully applying pressure at the bottom here. We should hear it lock into place. Oh, spring assembly is moving up, so I need to put my other hand right here and push in. Let me try that now. You're gonna hear a nice firm click when you do, and you can see it's back in there, it's locked in, and now we just need to attach our clips. I don't know if we need to add some sensor cleaner to that. I might, but looks like something's going down out there. But yeah, this will slide back in and connect to our pump, and then we can start reassembling it in the center section of the main assembly. Alright, reconnect your fuel pump cable, which goes in that secondary slot. You'll hear it click in, and then reassemble your pump assembly. So it's only going to go one way, and again, this regulator at the bottom here is got to sit in that hole right down there. So we got to put that other O-ring that we put on the regulator right here. It's got to sit right in there. So we got to make sure we nail it. If it's too hard to put in there, don't force it. But We should be able to just get it first shot, and then we'll worry about reconnecting everything once everything seats in there just fine. Like I said, if you had to force it, you're probably doing it wrong. It slid right down, and then you just got a gentle push. Obviously the springs are going to give you a little bit of leverage, and it clipped right in to all 3 corners. And now we're all clipped up, good to go, seated in there. And we just need to connect this sending unit connection, which again is going to be right here, and install it in the reverse order of which we took it out. So when we go to install it, I'm not going to install it right now, but when we go to install it, you're going to want to tilt it like that, right? So that way the sending unit can go into the pump area or the fuel tank, and then, you know, set it in there. We're going to lube up this O-ring. All right, so it's back in, but I didn't line up the mark. I feel like it's getting really tight, and I don't want to break it. But that line was supposed to line up with that line, but it's in there. It's very snug. I'm losing my voice from all the gas fumes that I've been breathing in, but we still got to put the connector on and then the fuel line. Tip is to put this connector, instead of putting it on, you know, here, to put it inside the fuel line, then push the fuel line onto here. Another thing that I want to say is, to get this guy seated with the spring mechanism, which is going to fight you, that seal at the very, very top, I took it off and seated it inside first, and then push the white column down into that top seal. It made my life a little bit easier. So now I just got to remove the bungee, put this in the fuel line, and reconnect everything, and we should be good to go. Fuel line clipped right in. You always want to double check it though. Make sure you're not loose or anything. You don't want fuel spraying all over your tank. And then the electrical connector clipped right in by pushing down on it. So now we just got to put this plate back on with the 3 screws, and your fuel pump has been replaced on your 3rd Gen TL 04 to 08. All right, we're all set. So thank you so much for stopping by and watching today's video. Do me a favor, hit the like button on the way out. Make sure you get subscribed for content. I don't know, I don't normally do automotive content, but I anytime I do something automotive on my car, I share it. I'm usually a tech, hardware, crypto, mining type of channel, but if you like content like this or any of the other ones that I mentioned, feel free to get subscribed and hang around. But hopefully this helped you out in your fuel pump. There's plenty of other videos out there. I did mine similar, but a little bit different and with a little bit more detail, I think. You let me know in the comments. Anyways, take care and good luck, and enjoy your TL or your Acura/Honda.